you can get your drinks. You know, but anyways.
Well, are we going to the prizes first?
I think so.
And then six?
But anyways, okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Chelsea, and I'm actually the creative director at an agency called Sports Digita. And I'll be talking a little bit about my role there, also the platform that we work on there, and then hopefully kind of where I think the future of UX is going and that relationship with developers. So, my story. I went to art school at the Art Institute in Minneapolis, paid way too much money to learn way too little, and kind of knew the whole time that they were forcing me to design and do everything very print-based, and that kind of bothered me. So I kind of, out of my own will, learned how to become a WordPress designer now, or WordPress developer, and started trying to pay back my $80,000 in student loans by just making people templated websites, and became very bored of that very fast. But I did a lot of user studies during that. I taught social media strategy, and I accidentally actually fell into the position that I work now. I really enjoyed freelance, and I actually thought that I was going to continue being a freelancer. I worked with this company, Sports Digita, to get their social media up and running, and also their website, and it was a very young startup. That was only 4 years ago. I worked on that client's project, and then I've never left. So that brings me to what we do. Sports Digita works exclusively with pro sports teams. We help sports teams sell season tickets, and we also help them sell sponsorship. So we have two primary platforms. One of them is going to be the focus of my presentation today, because instead of developing custom one-off websites for these sports teams, I have helped develop and product manage one stable platform with a very detailed back-end CMS that now our clients and our customers are really creating their own websites using. So Sports Digita started 4 years ago as a creative sports marketing agency, and it has in the last 2 years transformed into a software company, totally by accident. We actually worked on one project for the Minnesota Twins. They had asked us to come in and take photography of their interior to help them sell signage throughout their stadium. What we did for them is we created a content management system where their sales reps could go into their CRM, and it would integrate with our system, and it would allow them to manage their inventory, keep everything up to date, and then it would transfer to a very high-end front-end presentation. And I'll kind of give some examples of what we do. So this website is for the Dallas Cowboys. What it does is help sales reps sell their signage within their inventory. As you can see here, our CMS actually takes whoever you're presenting to. So if the Dallas Cowboys were presenting to AT&T, AT&T's artwork or logo would magically go there. It took away designers having to do these mock-ups. These sports teams were giving 6-7-figure dollar sales using really crappy PowerPoint presentations, having to have designers go in and custom create artwork every single time, and sales reps had to hand type their entire presentation. Now what our platform allows is this CRM integration, so everywhere that you see these little tags, it's actually integrated from Microsoft Dynamics. It goes right in here. So if you're presenting to AT&T, your information would instantly update right there. So now, in a matter of minutes, sales reps are able to create and customize these entire websites in 5 minutes instead of having to do PowerPoints in sales. This is an example of our admin. As you can see, it's very simple. Twitter Bootstrap. It works on every device. You can access it on and offline. These sales reps are sending out their this is an example of the CRM. So as you can see, you're creating your presentation using the CRM, picking what sales inventory that there is to sell, then putting the price, and all that syncs within our platform. This is an example of the Milwaukee Brewers, same story, very interactive website. these sales reps are sending out these websites as links. So now they're trackable instead of sending a PowerPoint and not knowing if they opened it, if they received it. Now our analytics give, these presentations allow you to insert graphs, update your content throughout the season. We used to do everything custom, so anytime they had any updates to any inventory, a PHP developer would have to go in to the website and have to make these updates. Now it's all customer generated content. They can add graphs, they can add video, they can add basically anything through our admin right here. Also, what I was trying to explain is now they're sending out these presentations, and instead of sending a PowerPoint, maybe your file's too big, you're not able to send it, and you have to use a third-party software like WeTransfer. Now you can send one link. Sales reps can actually get rich data of when a presentation has been sent, when it has been viewed, etc. They also get rich analytics of what slides that they've been looking at. If I were to send out my presentation that I'm presenting today, I would know exactly how long I spent on every single slide. If I had forwarded that on, who I forwarded it on to, you can see here, well you can't because it's so pixelated, but you can see here down below it tells you exactly what chapter they entered, what menu item they selected, every single page, exactly how long. And then we also have an executive management report which tells your overall sales. It compares sales staff against each other, so you can see productivity, which sales are easier to close, etc. Not here to pitch you guys my product. Oh no. Okay, so anyways, I'm not here to pitch my product to you, but I did think it was important to give you a little backstory before I tell you everything. What I want to present to you guys today is really how UX-focused design has transformed my company. In the early days, we provided creative services to pro sports teams. Anything they wanted. If they had an idea about a mobile app, we'd do it. If they had an idea about a website, we'd do it. If they needed season tickets sold, we'd help them do it. We had CQers, we had Facebook games, etc. The average project timeline was 4 to 6 months. I met with the VP and the SVP and the CEO many times, and we were just realizing that we were not making any money on any of our products. I'm sure you guys have all worked on projects where the scope just continues to increase. You're letting your customers decide your product instead of deciding your product and providing it to your clients. Every single one had custom code. Like I was mentioning before, we had very, very talented PHP developers, but they were spending their time, instead of focusing on platform enhancements and other things, they were focusing their time on updating content for clients. That made no sense. Every single one had its own CMS admin, so they were all very unstable and buggy. If we found a bug in one, we'd have to go back and change it for 17. We knew that wasn't going to be the way that we could move forward. So how our UX process has evolved. In its early stages, I call it the just do it. We were, whatever the designer was told, we would do, and we would go crazy, and the designers would design anything they wanted, and we were making the developers' lives miserable. We didn't have a UX person. There was designers coming straight out of college who were taught exactly what I was describing, print-based design. They didn't know what they were doing, and so it was chaos, and I'll get into that in a second. In the next phase, we had growing user research. We knew that we needed user research. We knew we needed to better understand our users, but we also didn't have that many users. So we were going into test markets. We were trying to show them, and anything any user said, we would just fix it, because we only had a couple users and we didn't know. Now, as we've evolved, I call it laser focus on outcomes. Now we can, since we have grown our user base to 78 pro teams, I have over 1,000 active users on it every month. Now I'm going in and I'm sitting with them and watching them train, and I'm actually getting user feedback that makes for a very nice backlog of to-do lists and what we can actually implement that's smart and on strategy. So to talk about this just do it phase, I think that this is just chaos. It was internal requests, it was client requests, it was user feedback, and it all created a very chaotic design process. No one was thinking, we were just, like I said, letting our customers define what our platform was and just doing whatever and they wanted. Sports teams are very behind the times. It seems like a fun, cool industry to be in, but there's absolutely no developers or designers on staff there, so it's part of our job now to help keep them knowing that we are the experts and we know what we're doing, and instead of letting them kind of define this. So, the problems within this just do it phase. We had major scope creep. We would sign a proposal with someone, and we thought we knew what the project was. It would go on for months and months. The client could continue to have iterations on it with 10 rounds of beta edits, and it was an absolute mess. There was delayed releases almost constantly. We thought we would have, a development to-do list, and we would get through it. Then we would find new bugs. Like I said, we had every single item was in a different environment, and it made for a very chaotic and non-profitable business model. So then we moved into sort of this phase, which I call organized chaos. We knew we had 17 teams. We knew we wanted it on one platform. So now we are getting to the point where we have 17 users who are on an old platform. So we are letting them still kind of decide this mess. But we are able to get requirement gathering. We are able to come up with user stories and product backlog, and then provide them a working prototype of our one platform. Within that, we released it, we gathered requirements, not only internally, but with developers, things that we could change, and then also releasing it to clients. Now we were getting one line of validation, which is overall. As you can just imagine, between the requirements and the validation, that process took over a year. There were still problems here. We were still uncertain of what the user needs actually were. No one had actually used our new platform. We knew what they were missing from their old platform, but we just developed everything based on what they wanted. We had a lack of customer data to inform smart, savvy decisions. We had the customers were deciding what our product was, and that was it was a mess of changing priorities constantly. So now, product is released into the market, and users are finally giving us valuable feedback. Then we move into what I call the UX-focused design phase, which I think we're currently at. Now, the user research became critical. We knew we didn't know our users personally, so how could we? I've flown out to every pro sport team, and I've talked to their sales reps, and now I'm actually seeing them use it. I'm seeing the common mistakes they have, and that is creating and collecting the right data from the right users and actually getting that information. New UX practices. Now we're able to do quality assurance testing before ever giving it out. Before, of course, we were doing that, but because there was every single site was separate, this task became unbearable. Now we have one platform, very, very good QA process. The in-person training and user research, that helps us create that backlog and helps us decide our phase releases. And of course now our customer feedback and support. So refining our process. It's creating the backlog and the user stories based on actual user events. Prioritizing development requests into iterations. Mock-ups and proof of concept. Before, like I said, we were just doing anything and everything that the client said. Now we are actually mocking up, proofing, sending things out. We have automated all of our templates, so UX designers and graphic designers and production artists are actually creating these sites instead of developers. The developers work on enhancements in the platform, and then we are able to maintain that stable platform because our developers are able to focus, but our designers are actually doing the work. Like I said, before it was PHP developers making very custom one-off sites, which took weeks, months, years, and now it is UX designers creating sites from templates that takes just hours. Now, with this the UX-focused development, flexibility and quick shortcuts are valued within the agile development instead of mismanaged by the waterfall process that we were using before.
There's a question back here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you describe how or what techniques used for mock-ups and proof of concepts? Like,
Sure. What we can do now, and we could never do before, is our designers, instead of working like in Photoshop and having to present a website in a very early stage, now that we have a very defined product, our designers can actually send the beta and the initial look in our platform because it takes them just hours to do. So we've gotten rid of, we used to use 14 different technologies. If it was an app, we would have to develop it using something that would simulate multiple apps. If, like I said, we did a lot of proof of concept in Photoshop, just paper, showing them very, very early stages. We are still old school on a board, concepting everything out. My UX designers are focused mostly on the admin, so they're working within Twitter Bootstrap and keeping up to date with kind of what our options are. And that doesn't allow for a lot of creativity, but obviously they have to be knowledgeable about what kind of impacts certain things will have on things.
so you simulate a workflow then if you're developing a new feature?
What's that?
Do you simulate a workflow then with a paper prototype?
Yeah, and like I said, early in our stage when we were actually developing this platform, of course, we had the paper prototyping, we went back and forth, had developers, but now that's all gone, and everything is kind of automated, which is nice. We only had to do it once instead of every single time. So, with this UX-focused design process, we have requirements gatherings still, we have user stories and product backlogs still, but now we've added the user feedback and data, which helps us with this concepting phase. And then we will send a prototype and the requirements. And then now we have internal validation, which is just on our end, and then we also have external validation for the first time. People are able to click through instead of us sending paper prototypes or something that someone can't click and move. Now they're able to see the website very, very early in the creative phase by clicking through and actually using our product. Our current status is still not perfect, and we're still in that growth phase. So we have the UX-focused design, and we have phased releases, which are weekly and monthly. We have iterations and of future requests prepared in a backlog, and we're constantly trying to prioritize there instead of actually in development. We have a new process for documentation, and the priorities and the future roadmap are always going to be still growing. This laser focus, now you have business needs, you have user needs, you have technology, and that is what brings on the design goal. So I think a designer's role right now is to really get that user feedback and know what things need to go to development, but play that middleman so that developers aren't making decisions, and now they're able to focus and work in their smart 2-week iteration without being unfocused and making changes the whole time. And this UX designer can kind of be taking over these 3 needs so that a developer can just focus on that technology. How I sort of empower the design team, it's all about functioning of teams. I think that in our early stages, designers and developers had a hard relationship, and that's probably a sports digita issue, probably less common across everything. But we had a hard relationship because we were forcing developers to make some of these decisions, and now because of the user needs and everything that we're gathering, I think that our team is kind of coming up, and they're all involved in that concepting process, which is nice. Now we're demonstrating creativity and decision making in a new, effective way. We have a sense of ownership. We know which people own which things, and of course, every our job is to make the developers' jobs easier. I think that there's many times that when we just had designers and we didn't have the UX design team, that we were making decisions that were complicating. We were adding extra hours, extra weeks to things that could have been done a lot more effective, a lot more efficient. And I really do think that the future of development is going to be working with these UX designers so that that's not the case. I think they're a good representative of what your guys' skill sets are and can help sort of make your lives a lot easier. And then, of course, we all collaborate towards one best profitable outcome. So changing the role of the designer, and like I said, now you are a facilitator and you're a customer advocate. You're also focused on technology. When you look at a design process when you look at design as a process and not as an artifact, everyone on your team becomes a designer, and I think that's really important. I think that everyone actually is designing our products every day. Just some advice. I think sometimes I have a very hard time as a creative person thinking that okay solutions are okay. I get stuck in my mind and I want things the way that I want it. And really, I think this is probably the most important takeaway for a designer to have is sometimes whatever's easiest, best, faster actually is the best solution. And so designing for the best great experience is not always necessary or possible. Not all solutions are born equal. I think sometimes the smartest decision or the best decision made in the concepting phase isn't always the one that we have to move forward with. There's a lot of external factors. Making the client happy at the end of the day, we all have to sacrifice to make sure that that is our end goal. And of course, design towards best trade-offs to enable outcomes. I think it's really important to sit down and concept with the developers in that process and really work with them to find trade-offs that are smart, that make a lot of sense. And of course, my number one advice that I give to my team every day is avoid further iterations. I don't want the project to continue and continue and continue. So what are we doing in this phase to be planning ahead to the next phase? What are we doing here that, it does the design. The designs don't need to make the project any harder. And I think that's really hard, especially for myself, to grasp sometimes. Like I said, I get stuck in my ways where sometimes not thinking about if we design in HTML5, it'll work across everything, and now we don't have, it might not look exactly pixel perfect to what I had, but it's smart, it's forward thinking, and our platform makes more sense that way. And then evolving the design process, just digging a little bit deeper into where I started the presentation. In the just do it phase, we knew we needed to know our users, and we knew there was an importance of mock-ups and prototyping, but having to repeat that and do it every time made for a very long design process. Now with our growing user research and our laser focus on what our outcomes actually are, we have empowering that acquisition teams. We have designers who are facilitating and being customer advocates. Now we know when to break the process. We know when it makes sense to do something that's quicker and smarter. And we document as we go. Before, we had a lot of trouble in development. We were working so fast in the just do it phase that we were forgetting to document things, and we made every single developer's job harder every single day. And I think that's really important. And then designing towards avoiding iterations is always one of our goals. So I know that I am a subject expert in sort of this pro sports. Obviously, I am not in development, but I think this is a good time just for us to kind of talk about the future, what your guys' opinions are about UX design, because like I said, I think this is a full ongoing evolution process, and we are still in the growth phase. We're still a startup, and I think that we're constantly learning from our mistakes, which is unfortunate, but we've moved definitely towards the better. So I'll open the floor to any sort of discussion or questions that you may have. Okay, I'll start at the left.
How much did your design
Yeah, that is a very good question. A lot. So in our early stages, we had 12 developers in-house. At that time, I was working on 17 websites, and every single one of them they were working on every different platform, future enhancements also on everything. Obviously, that wasn't effective at all. When we decided to make the move and make one platform, we actually let our development team go except for 2 developers. And that gave us 6 months to focus on what we wanted our product to be, and we found an external development team. We actually work with a local-based company who we have a couple local developers, but then we have 12 developers who are offshore in Bulgaria today. Now we're sort of in this phase where we are making smarter, better, more educated future requests, and I think it's important maybe to regrow that team internally so that our knowledge is in Bulgaria.
How about designers?
Sure, and now I have a lot more designers. So during that time, it was myself and one other designer. And now I no longer design. I have 2 UX designers, 6 interactive designers, and 3 production artists. And they make all of our websites. Thank you, Renata. Did that answer your question? Sorry. Okay.
Is accessibility impacting your designs?
Yes, absolutely. On the ticketing side especially, for the sponsorship side, it's presentations, so it's pretty static. We don't, different devices don't matter as much because people are projecting them. But on the ticketing side, absolutely. Everything needs to be flash-based. We show people their seats and then they can relocate to a different seat. Obviously, that's way out, so we had to redo everything. And now we think mobile. They're going to be they're emailing their season ticket holders, do you want to renew? And giving them in the mail. People are doing it, 80% of our users are now on the phone. So it was reshifting, rethinking everything, and how do we make it as easy as possible, few as clicks as possible, and really getting them to renew their tickets no matter what it is. And I'm sorry, I can't remember what's next.
I think it might have been me. So my parents happen to be wild season ticket holders.
Sure.
And they just got their emails for not just the season ticket renewals, but also the, what are they called?
Playoffs, yep.
Which we may go to.
Good.
But one of the things I've been impressed with recently was actually the design of the mobile
Yes,
app. Now,
yes.
is that you guys?
It is, and it is. We worked with them for both their seat viewer and their season ticket. Now, it's interesting because the Wild have been one of our hardest partners. They actually have gotten very mixed reviews from their clients. They're very used to doing the old school paper for the last 25 years. One of my account managers came from the Wild. She was in charge of season tickets there. I hired her to sort of help us understand that process, and also she's an account manager now, which helps us a lot. But to your question, I think that hearing that they're still used to their old way, it's like you can't teach a dog new tricks sometimes. It's made our process kind of hard. I know that's the future, and I know that's where everyone's going, and they paid $18,000 to send them out in paper as well, on top of their investment that they made with us to make the
So they
website.
have the cards and tickets?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on top of that. So we're trying to make everything go digitally. We would love to get into even the digital ticketing and do everything. So, and I do think that's the future, but like I said, sports teams, you'd be surprised how behind the times they really are. So I'm glad to hear your good feedback. That's good. That's very good. In the back, did you?
No, he actually asked the same question that I was thinking of.
Okay, yes.
Do you think it's possible to kind of avoid that just do it at the very beginning? I'm part of the startup. I feel like we're
You're in just do it.
So,
Honestly, all those growing pains is the reason that we are successful. If we hadn't went through that, I don't think we would have a good product at the end of the day. So unfortunately, I'm going to give you the answer you don't want to hear. I think you can not have to pay for those mistakes. We jumped right into development very early and not educated at all about, like I said, we started this company not to be a software company at all. We were creative based and we wanted the best creative. That was our goal. And we had to do line shifts, we had to fire employees, we had to let people go. Those are decisions I wish we didn't have to make. But that just do it phase, I think, does set the foundation, unfortunately, for your next two phases. So when you get to them. And hopefully you haven't burned out all of the, I'm very fortunate, we never had investors at my company. It's solely based on an open checkbook, which is so rare for a startup. But I think if you have the mind and you know technology and you know what kind of business you're starting, start with the prototyping and start young, and I think you can make smart decisions without wasting development dollars. You in the back, and then you. So.
I was just curious that single final product that regional did it stay PHP or regional decide to go?
Oh, that's a good question. Our main platform still is PHP on a design framework, and our front ends have a lot of JavaScript. It has a combination of probably the most complex code. But the good thing is that it's always usable now. So we have 5 main menu types. Now a designer can go in. They've already been animated. The foundation's already there, and everything's very modular. You can change and replace things and just update creative instead of redeveloping every single time. Now, that being said, we're kind of this has been in the market for 6 months, so now it's time to innovate and think ahead, and we've been forward thinkers for the last 2 years. How do we stay relevant, stay cool, making sure that now we don't have 5 templates, we can have a library of templates, and we can continue to kind of grow. Yes?
This may be a little bit of a naive question, not being familiar with UX, but my vague, what I've heard of it, focusing on user experience, and when I would picture that in your context, I would think about the experience of the end client and how they would interact with the product, but
Yes.
it seems like your UX designers are thinking also about the experience of the developers. Is that correct?
Yes, but more what I was talking about is, so our 2 main products, one of them is B2C. We're actually selling to a sports team and training them. And so my role as a sort of UX market researcher is to do that part of our business and train the actual sports team. How do the sales reps, when you renew a ticket, how did they receive it? How did they make sure they follow up in the right way? Was their credit card information correct? I focus on that side of the business, which is a little unique. And then I have a UX designer who is at games when there's a mobile app being played, and I realize that my company is a little different. Our UX designers are also market researchers, and I think that's really rare, but we're a startup and we don't have enough money to hire both. So I had to make a decision where I'd rather someone be able to design based on what they saw than hire market researchers. Now, hopefully that changes. I can have both.
So then the decision to go towards this, templated, standardized approach was that more out of concern for how it would make things stable for your customers rather than
Oh, sure. I think it's both.
developers?
I think it's both, and that's a really great question. I do think it's both. I think it was developers were getting exhausted. I had employees quitting on me. We have one of the worst turnarounds in Minneapolis in only 4 years. It's really bad. But that's because we were working 80, 100-hour weeks, which is not possible, and it's not stable, and you can't move forward that way. And so it wasn't really about the money being spent. It was a decision of that's not going to be a stable way to run a company, and we just couldn't move forward that way. So templating, using reusable code, those kind of decisions helped us get to a place where now we drink beer at the office and play beer pong, and we have a normal work life. And I think that's where it stemmed from. Of course, we were used to saying to clients, we'll do whatever and whatever, and now everything's templated. So we've had to make a lot of sacrifices for that, but I think it was for the better. And now our profitability is a lot better as well. Yes?
Do you have any opinions on material design principle? Google.
For Google?
Oh, from Google.
Oh, from Google. And I do apologize. I don't know much about Google development. Like I said, ours is a completely built CMS. The reason I'm actually sort of here is because I'm in talks with our development company. maybe we merge with Google Presentations for our Digidux platform. I think that they're the only company who's successfully done the front end how we want it. You can upload a PowerPoint and completely edit a PowerPoint and then pull it down. And I think that's amazing. You can send it, everything's saved in the cloud. If one person makes an edit to it, it's there. You have a draft process. It really takes care of a lot of the needs. So maybe we won't reinvent the wheel and do it all ourselves. Maybe there's an integration there. Or maybe I copy some of the things that they've selected. I know PowerPoint hasn't changed in 15 years, but they have probably like 8,000 capabilities within their platform, and I think it's really interesting the ones that Google Presentations decided to choose. I think they were very smart in only picking some of them, maybe solving 80% of user needs instead of trying to do it all. And I think startups do that all the time. We try and please everyone, and instead of saying sometimes okay is okay, and it's smart. Yes.
Do you have any of your developers that? No.
My COO, I know, right? My COO, I know. My COO, it was here this morning, but he left. But yes, I think it would be interesting. Like I said, we do have our platform developers are all in our area, so they could.
Just flying water.
Yeah, I wish.
First it took like 6 months to get into the.
Yeah. Any further questions? Should we get to prizes and the fun time? If you do think of anything else, I'll be at the after event. Would love to hear from you. Of course, fill out your little surveys so that you can win some cool prizes downstairs right now.